If you ever feel a wisp of wind through your hair, know that it's Arya Stark coming to fuck up your whole day. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Hey you guys, it's been a minute. Where have I been? Where have you been? You guys, I'm about to do a recap of the 3rd episode of season 8 of Game of Thrones. I'm so excited for what all of us witnessed last night. So let's go on ahead and get into this. Oh yeah, I have merch below, so check that out. So first we come up and we see hands. We see hands shaking. And we don't know whose hands they are. And the camera pans up and it turns out that it's Sam. Sam walks down from the battlements and he goes into the courtyard and he passes Tyrion and the camera follows Tyrion. And Tyrion is looking upset because he does not want to go and hide in the crypt. But he's resigned to the fact that they've told him he's going to be of no use. So he gets a wine skin and then he sees Bran. And then we see Bran and Theon going towards the Great Tree. People are walking around, there's last minute preparations, they're checking to make sure that everything is good. We see the Unsullied, we see the Dothraki, we see Brienne, Jaime the Hound, Gendry, Sam and Ed, Ghost and Jorah. Like everyone who is alive that we've loved for the last 8 seasons is here. So then we see the dragons and then we see the Targaryens, you know, auntie and nephew. So then we're in near silence and we are just waiting for the dead. It's night. We can't see. We can't even see the TV. Like, I feel like they purposely filmed it in such low lighting that those of us who are watching it at home in the dark still were squinting at the TV like, what? Who? Is that who I think it is? I don't know. That could be anybody because they really wanted us to feel how dark and desolate and silent this land is right before the dead march on Winterfell. And then all of a sudden, there's a lone figure that's coming out of the gloom. And we're like, is this a messenger? Is this a sentry? Like, what is going on? Are these like the terms of war? Like, what is happening? And it turns out that it's Melisandre. She rides up to Jorah slowly. I don't know if Melisandre and Jorah know each other. She does a magical spell and all of the Dothraki swords light a flame. And it is so beautiful. We are all filled with hope. Oh my God, okay, we've got Melisandre on our side. We've got the Lord of Light on our side. Like, things are gonna go okay. They're gonna be bad, but they're gonna be okay. Sir Davos, who hates her, says, open the gates. They open the gate, they let her in, and he meets her, and he looks like he wants to literally stab her, and she's like, look, I will be dead by the end of this. We're not enemies right now. Let me just do what I gotta do. And he lets her pass. She goes up. She has a moment with Arya, but she's like kind of concentrating on the battle as well, so she turns back around. And then all of a sudden, the Dothraki horde take off with Jorah and Ghost in the lead, going to get the dead. And then we have the Targaryens on the hilltop with their dragons looking at this beautiful CGI of a horde of flame just taking off toward nothingness. And then all of a sudden the lights of their swords start to go out. And we're like, oh my God, what's going on? In my mind, I haven't seen the dead really like fight in a while. And so in my mind, they were going to be slow. I didn't picture them running and like screaming the way they were doing. I was scared. I was like, damn, like this is crazy. They have no fear because they're already dead. We hear screaming and then we don't hear any screaming, and then all of a sudden horses and people start to run back, and then we see Jorah run back. Jorah was like, yeah, we tried that. Thank you for the cannons. However, we're gonna need more. Everyone's shocked that the Dothraki didn't do anything and most of them didn't come back. Like everyone's just like, oh my God, like we knew it was bad, but now we know it's like on another level bad. Dany recognizes that her first defense, her people from the very beginning have just been slaughtered, and she turns around to get on her dragon to go, and Jon is like, wait, the Night King is coming. She's just like, the dead are already here. I'm gonna go kill because they just killed my people, and like we can deal with the Night King when he gets here. And then all of a sudden the Unsullied, they get mowed over by the dead. I mean, the dead just come out of the fog screaming like banshees, like literal Bam! Targaryens come with their dragons and just start to spray the ground. So we were losing and now we're kind of on even keel because we have the dragons and they're spraying fire everywhere. The dead are dying, but so are we. So in reaction to the Targaryens coming with their dragons, the Night King decides to send in the most ridiculous fog we have ever seen. We thought it was night before. We thought it was dark before. We thought we couldn't see before. But then he sends in this like storm, this like fog snowstorm, and no visibility. Visibility goes from 65% to 45%, and we're all just like, well, damn. They have to call a retreat. I don't know how long they've been fighting at this point, but I know that they are tired AF. Ed saves Sam. Sam then gets up. Ed then gets killed. Sam is like freaked out. He just saw one of his besties die. He books it for Winterfell. He is out of there. Sam is like, I really wanted to be in this fight, but why did I really want to be in this fight though? I like to read books. And then there's this like really great aerial shot of everybody running into Winterfell, and you can really see like how scared shitless everybody is. And then we have a scene of the dragons like flying and trying to fight the Night King in the sky, but nobody can see anything. And it's like, who cares about them? Let's get back to what's happening on the ground. Now, the second part of the plan is for them to light the trench that has been dug around Winterfell Castle. They're trying to signal to Dany and Jon to light the trench, and they can't get the signal through with the fire because of the fog and because of the zero visibility. So Melisandre comes out very slowly with a group of Unsullied while they protect her, and she goes and she lights the trenches. And for a minute there, it seems like old girl isn't gonna get it done, but we're only like, I think 20 minutes in at this point, so we have to go on ahead and assume that she's gonna actually light the trenches, or at this point, it is all over. So she lights the trenches, the Unsullied get behind the wall, everybody's just staring at the dead, and the dead is staring back at them. The Night King is low-key fighting the Targaryens, and so like, it's this moment of standstill. And Arya turns to her sister, and she's like, I'm gonna need you to go downstairs. And Sansa's like, no, I'm not gonna leave my people. And she's like, we're good, here's a knife. She's like, I don't know what to do with this. Stick him with the pointy end. Call back to when Arya got Needle in season 1. Whew, girl, stick him with the pointy end. They don't even hug each other. Sansa just bounces. When Melisandre lights the trench, all of a sudden we can see. Everyone can see what's going on, and it is terrifying. We understand that we're not gonna win this, and like, what are we gonna do? Bran, what's Bran gonna do about this? Like, we're just fighting and we're hoping that someone can take out the Night King, but as of yet, he hasn't gotten off of his dragon and he hasn't tried to get to Bran. So then we follow Sansa below, and Tyrion is there waiting because he really doesn't want to be down there. He feels like if he were up there, there would be another pair of eyes to see, and Sansa's like, listen, no one is seeing right now. Sansa's like, no, you'd be dead, and your charm is not gonna stop the dead from attacking you. He says to her, we should have stayed married. And then Sansa says to Tyrion, you were the best of them. And he's like, oh my God, your husbands have been shit. Sansa says we could never be married and it would never work because your loyalties are divided. You're with the Dragon Queen, like, it is what it is. The Dragon Queen's lady's maid, her name starts with an M, sorry, I don't know it. She's like, well, no one would be here without the Dragon Queen because everybody would be dead. Just like, okay, thank you. I don't know what I feel about Dany. Like, I'm still about the North. I'm glad she's here. I'm glad she came to save the day. I'm still really about the North at this point. So next thing we have is Theon and Bran. Theon then goes to apologize to Bran and say that he's sorry for everything that he's done to the family, and Bran turns to him and says, everything that you've done so far has led you to where you are now, and you're home. And then he's like, I'm gonna go though, I gotta go. And he does that thing and he jumps into the body of a crow and they take off and they go and they fly, and you think something's gonna happen with these murder of crows, that they might murder somebody, but nothing happens. It's this weird like moment where there's no tie at the end of it. It's just like he just takes off. It's like, where are you going? What are you doing? You're just seeing where the Night King is. So the Night King reaches out at that point. And you're like, what is he trying to do? Is he coming for the crows? Like, what's going on? Then it turns out he's just telling his troops, hey, some of you guys sacrifice yourself, throw your bodies on the trench, and then other people just walk over. Hey, we have a problem. Let's build a bridge and get over it. Is literally what he did. So the people who are fighting, clocked in for work about 2 hours ago. They've been fighting real hard. They're on their 10-minute break. You know what I'm saying? I wish they got a 30-minute lunch period, but I don't think they did. And then all of a sudden they had to get up and start fighting again. Everybody had to run to the battlements because they had to guard the wall. Oh, girl, the onslaught. It comes again. And you know what's so interesting about the dead climbing the wall? When we see how dragon glass kills the dead, we're like, oh, so like it takes one swipe and they're dunskies. I feel some kind of hope because as long as they can like really protect the battlements and they can just pick them off one by one. But the truth is that they're all tired. They're all wearing armor. That mail, it's heavy. He's picked up dead from as far as he's been walking. There are millions of them. Millions. Like, how long can they fight realistically? And so finally the dead breach the wall. I mean, Arya has this beautiful moment where she is swinging that spear situation that Gentry made for her, and she's like, meow, boom, boom, boom. She's killing people, and Davos is like standing back looking at her, and she like looks at him, and she's like takes off and starts going again. I mean, people are fighting. I'm tired just watching them. Listen, I would have been dead. I tell you, in any situation where I have to run from the dead, if it's zombies, if it's vampires, I don't care what it is. I am dying because I'm not running for my life. Just go ahead and kill me, son. Like, that terror, I don't want to feel that for an extended period of time. Okay? Take me. I feel like me and the Hound understand each other in that moment. He's like, look, you stupid whore. We are going to die. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm tired. And Beldrick is like, look, we still have to fight. He doesn't know what his purpose is, but he has been brought back several times. And this is not where it ends. He's going to keep on fighting until the very absolute end. And then he sees Arya. And then he says to the Hound, look, she's still fighting. Meanwhile, Arya is like, she's pinned in, but the like ninja cat in her comes out and she's like killing dead, and then there's like a dead in the stairwell and she like hops over them. Girl, I don't even know how I saw it because it was so dark, but I seen her flip. She gets over, this one dead sees her flip, comes at her, pushes her, and she hits her head on the wall, and then she's all disoriented. And then all of a sudden, Arya is like, all of a sudden she's like, oh shit, like I might not be able to get out of this. She like manages to get out, and she finds herself inside of the castle, and she's like snooping around, trying to figure out how she can get to another part, like who's what, where. I don't know what she's planning on doing, but I don't know why she went in the house. Then we go back to the courtyard, and we see Lyanna Mormont, who is Jorah's kinswoman, who is like the lady of the Mormont house. Maybe 12 or 13 years old. And she's calling out orders and she's doing things, and all of a sudden a dead giant comes through, and they just he knocks her over. She falls. There's a lot of like scuffle, and she runs towards him screaming. He grabs her, picks her up, crushes her, and she takes her one good arm and stabs him in the eye. And he falls and dies. Lyanna Mormont. And she dies too. It is a sad and great moment. This is actually a sad episode for House Mormont. And there's more fighting with Dany and Jon and the dragons. I wasn't so much into the dragon fighting. Like, it just felt really difficult and hard, and I didn't want to watch it. I was just like, meh. This CGI moment could have been only done one time throughout this episode, and I would have been A-okay with it. So then we go back to Arya. Arya is sneaking around, and then she realizes that she's walked into a nest of the dead in the library. And so she does some like man of many faces, like cat-like silent movement. It was like a ballet dance. She does a diversion, and then she goes underneath the table, but her blood is dripping, and the dead hears it, and that dead, you see his face, and you're just like, oh my god. But she's up over the table and gone somewhere else hiding, and she finally gets out. She closes the door, and then all of a sudden the door to her left busts open, and there's a bunch of dead, and then the people in the dead, so she has to run, girl. She has to run. She's running through the halls, and then we see the Hound, and we see Bedrick, and they're looking for her, and they're all silent. All of a sudden they get to a dead end, and behold, Arya gets pushed through the door by a dead, and she is almost dead. She is screaming. I haven't heard Arya scream since like the early seasons, okay? She barely speaks, but to hear her scream is like crazy. So she's like, ah! And then Beldrick comes and moves the dead, and then the Hound grabs her and they run, and like Bedrick is being like stabbed. That is his purpose, was to save Arya, and he is fulfilling it. And they're running through the castle, and they get to this room where there's a bunch of dead and Melisandre. I want to know what Melisandre did to that dead. Like, how did she kill them all? But anyway, she's in that room. Bedrick dies. Melisandre says, listen, he died for a reason. Don't let it go to waste. Arya is just like, you told me that we would meet again, and here we are. And Melisandre's like, yeah, and I also told you that you would close many eyes. Brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes. And then Melisandre says, what do we say to the god of the dead? And a callback from season 1, Arya says, not today. So then we have a fight between Jon and the Night King, and it's up in the air. Both of them get thrown off their dragons. They're both on the ground, and then Dany shows up with her dragon, and she firebombs the ish out of the Night King. And we still have an hour into this, so we know it's not the end. And she pulls it back, and the Night King is standing there looking at her like, oh, you thought that was gonna work? Jon decides that he's going to sneak up behind the Night King and have this battle, right? So Jon tries to sneak up on the Night King, and we're like, oh my God, we're an hour in. This is the final showdown. It's finna go down, okay? And all of a sudden the Night King is like, and turns around and looks at him. And Jon is just like, okay, you see me, I see you. Let's do this. And the Night King is like, no, I've got other things to do. Here's my ace in the hole. And he raises the dead who were not killed by dragon glass. So all of a sudden, the wildlings, the Dothraki, anyone who has just died by the hands of the dead is now arising. So now their numbers are even greater, and those numbers are inside the castle. So everyone inside the castle who's fighting, Jaime, Podrick, Brienne, Gentry, they're all just like, we thought we were getting somewhere. And then they weren't getting anywhere, girl. It was terrifying. And then we're just like, oh my God, Jon's gonna die. We know how this goes. We know that the Game of Thrones writers don't care. We know that the writers will just kill anyone. So we're prepared. We're just like, Jon's gonna die. Okay. So the Targaryen line is gonna die because we know Dany can't have kids. You know what I'm saying? So like, we don't know, but okay, maybe this is a necessary sacrifice. 30 died once, he might die again. Okay, we're okay. And then Dany comes in, saves the day, saves Jon by like spraying fire with her dragon on all of the dead, and then he's like, I gotta go see Bran, and she's like, do what you gotta do, and so he bounces and runs into Winterfell trying to get to the Elder Tree, and that turns out to be the hardest thing this man has ever had to do in his entire life. He cannot get out of that courtyard, so he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna fight this dragon. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Dany is there, Jon has just run off, and she's on her dragon, and all of a sudden the dead start to crawl on her dragon, so it becomes too heavy, and I'm not sure if the dragon throws her off or she jumps off because the dead are all on the dragon, and so she gives the dragon the opportunity to fly off, and I was just like, damn, it's so sad the dragon couldn't fly off with her, but that wouldn't help what's gonna happen next. Jorah comes out of nowhere to save Dany. He saw her flying over while he was fighting in the courtyard and then started running towards her, so by the time he got to her, it was just in the nick of time, and so he's out there and they are in the field, just them two trying to kill Dany, and you know Dany is no swordswoman, okay? She is just doing her damnedest, and Jorah is just getting stuck with all kinds of weapons, and he is standing up. He is not gonna let his woman die. It was just so great the way he was fighting. That whole scene between the two of them, it was like so poetic and so beautiful. I loved it. Okay, so when the Night King made everybody who wasn't killed by dragonglass come back alive, that means everybody in the crypts too. And I know we were all thinking it. If they're gonna hide in the crypts, what about the dead? We didn't know that the Night King was going to re-raise the dead. Okay, who saw that coming? I didn't. There's some of you who did, but I did not. I'm like, they'll be fine in that crypt. They'll be fine. They were not fine, girl. The key players that were down there managed to hide and stay alive, and the dummies were running around screaming. Tyrion and Sansa look at each other. They're hiding behind a crypt, and he kisses her hand, and all of a sudden it goes silent, and this beautiful music starts. First it starts off as piano, and the sounds of the battle become muted, and it's just this moment between Sansa and Tyrion is just, they look at each other, and she grabs her knife, and they're just like, okay, we gotta get out of here. Let's fight our way out. And so they start to sneak around. They finally come up to the eunuch, and he's got a bunch of kids behind him, and they start to sneak and try to get out to the door. So then it goes outside to the courtyard where Jon is just seeing all of his people like fighting, and he can't stop, and Sam's on the ground, but he needs to get to Bran, and so he's running, and he's fighting his way through, and again, it's this beautiful like music that's happening, and then the violins start, and then the castle starts to fall down around him. Then we go to Theon and Bran, and Theon is fighting. I mean, he fights and fights until he gets to his last quill, and then he takes his bow, and he starts to fight with a bow, then he starts to fight with a spear. I mean, Theon is handling business by himself. self. All of a sudden a dragon comes and Jon starts to fight with the dead dragon, and it's just like, it is so hopeless. This music comes in, girl, and we are all sad. Then the cello starts to come in, and then the bass comes in, and it is like deep sound. And then I'm thinking, where the hell is Arya? Like, what is Arya gonna do? Bran is still gone off on his crows. Wherever it is that he's gone and whatever it is that he's doing, he's out there doing it. And then all of a sudden it gets quiet. The Night King starts to walk. We still hear that deep bass and the cello going as the Night King walks, and he stands there, and Bran comes back to his body and tells Theon that he's a good man and says thank you to him. Theon gets his spear and he charges the Night King, which is very foolish, but he does it anyway. I thought something was going to happen. I thought maybe some kind of miracle was going to happen and Theon was actually going to kill the Night King. But no, girl. Night King stops him, stabs him with his own, spear, and Theon is just like on the ground. And then the Night King just slowly starts to walk towards Bran. I mean, hope is lost, everybody. Hope is lost. The Night King gets to Bran. Bran looks at the Night King. The Night King looks at Bran. And then all of a sudden, there's a shot of one of his majors or one of his generals, and we just see like a wisp of hair, like just like a tiny little wisp of hair, like the wind just blew and his hair just went whoosh, and we see his eye like look, and then the Night King reaches back to get his sword, and then we see like a cat, a feral alley cat. We see Arya jump and scream through the air. The Night King turns around, grabs her, and I'm like, oh my God, Arya, like, she's gonna die. The Night King is gonna kill her, and she was so close. And then Arya does that trick where the Night King is holding her knife hand and her neck, and she has got the knife in this hand. She drops the knife falls, and her free hand catches the knife, and she stabs him in the gut, and every White Walker dies. They all crystallize, turn to ice, and shatter. Jon thought he was gonna die. He's staring in the mouth of the dragon, and the dragon's like, "Ugh, ugh," and just dies. I mean, everybody is fighting in the courtyard. Jorah, as soon as all the dead die, Jorah just sinks to the ground, and he's like, my job is done, and he's out. He's dead. Dany is crying. Her dragon comes and like covers her, so that she can mourn in peace. And like, oh my God, it is this moment, and you're just like, Arya killed the Night King and saved Westeros. There are only 2 Stark children left. We're not counting Bran because Bran is no longer a Stark. He's no longer even Bran. It is just Arya and Sansa. And now we find out that Jon isn't even a Stark. I mean, the Starks went from like a family of 8 to a family of 2. And one of the 2 killed the Night King. I mean, songs will be sung. She is officially one of the most badass female characters in all of television. And we watched her grow up. We watched her grow from like an 11-year-old to an 18-year-old. Cheers to Arya Stark. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a better, like, and it's not even the season finale, girl. Like, this episode was so good. Bravo to the writers, the producers, to George Martin, the author. If we ended it right here, I would be good. Oh, I didn't even finish. Okay, so basically after this, everyone's shocked, everyone's looking around, and then Melisandre, she walks out into the field, and she takes off her magical necklace, and she just like ages as she would, and she just dies. And that is the end of the episode. Beautiful. I mean, the music, it's like the last couple tinkers as she's walking out of the piano keys, and then like bing, 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 and then dead. And that is the end, and it's silence, and we are all like, Arya Stark is that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, she literally is that bitch. Why men great till they gotta be great? Arya took a DNA test and it turns out she's 100% that bitch, even when she crying crazy. Thank you, Lizzo, for writing that. All right, you guys, so that was the end of this review. Please comment down below. Let's have a kiki and a conversation, girl. We need to talk about it. I need somebody to like talk about this with. I mean, that was such a great hour and 20 minutes of television. I am so grateful to have witnessed that. Are you grateful to have witnessed it? Let's talk about how grateful we are down below. Also, don't forget that I do have merch, so if you guys want to purchase something from my store, Teespring, right down below. All right, you guys, so that is the end. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.